United States Congressman Jim Clyburn, he is the 6th District Congressman of South Carolina, was on Jake Tapper's show over the weekend. And Jake Tapper, who has recently co-written a book called The Original Sin, and the news media seems to be all caught up in this, or at least the liberal news media, because they don't want to talk about genocide, or, they don't want to keep talking about, tax cuts for the wealthy and cutting, the social safety net and all of the black bag jobs that ICE is doing. They don't want to talk about that stuff. So they want to start talking about this. Now, look, don't get me wrong. One major way of moving away from the current way that Democrats are doing politics right now, which is not working, and it's coming from a serious place of weakness. And, the Republicans and Donald Trump and Mike Johnson and them are running roughshod all over them. So I got no problems with them critiquing the Democratic Party. And, this little, this new ballywick that, like people like Jake Tapper and some of the other news media is, when did you know that Joe Biden didn't have all of his marbles? Who knew and when did they know? As if this is going to change anything. First of all, Joe Biden's gone. He's gone. Just got diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. He's no longer president, and he's an old man, and he's sick, and he's probably not going to last much longer. But I do appreciate the fact that if this talk, and there's no guarantee, but if this talk gets us away from certain Biden policies that caused Kamala to lose, and a lot of it's Kamala's fault for not being able to pull away from Joe Biden, even though she used Joe Biden's election crew for her, for her run in 2024, all 100 days that she had, but look, Joe Biden is responsible a lot for Donald Trump. He just is. He said he was going to be a one-term president. He lied. His vanity got the better of him, and he wanted to stay and run for a second term. He should have backed out in the end of 2022 when the primary process starts for the presidential election in 2024, early 2023. He should have been like, well, I'm done. This is my one term. Like I said, and I'm stepping aside, and we're going to have a primary season where all of the Democrats get together and, just like a regular election, and then the cream rises to the top, and then that's the one that goes up against Donald Trump. But we didn't do that because Joe Biden is vain. Joe Biden did not want to step down. He got a taste of that power. It took him 4 times to get into that office. And he was not about to give it up, even though he told us he was, and even though we knew he shouldn't run again, he stuck it out. And of course, we overlooked a lot of stuff, especially the news media overlooked a lot of stuff, doddering Joe Biden, barely able to walk, barely able to talk, but I didn't see a whole lot of news media, whether it's MSNBC or CNN, doing a lot of questioning, when he walked off looking like he was going to go talk to somebody, and then they're like, oh, but there was somebody over there that he was talking to. Sure, everybody's making a fucking excuse. We watched them do it. But here's the thing, folks, and you will understand this point just as good as I do. Honey, when did we know? We knew in 2019 when the primary for the 2020 election was coming up, and Joe Biden is standing on stage with Kamala Harris and Bernie Sanders and Cory Booker, and he would be gaffe machine, gaffing up a storm, gaffing all the live long day, just Mr. Gaff. He would do. He would do rallies, or not rallies, but he'd go to town halls and talk to people, and somebody would say, what are you going to do about that? So he goes, well, hey, listen here, Jack, if you don't like me, you can vote for the other guy, and hey, listen here, fat. Jack, you want to do some push-ups? Watch me. Or that time he was on stage at a debate, and he's like, we got a problem with the kids, and we got to get them to sit down and listen to the record player, you know. Anyway, I've talked too long. We saw it. We all saw it. That was in 2019. He should not have been president. But the media screaming and yelling about Bernie Sanders, you know, putting people in camps. You know, I watched pundit after pundit go, you know, we can't have Bernie Sanders. He's going to put us all in I'm Chris Matthews, and I'm scared that Bernie Sanders is going to put us all in camps. How do you feel now, Chris Matthews, when we actually have a president who is making camps in other foreign nations? How do you fucking feel about that, asshat? So, you know, who knew what, when, where, who's complicit? Honey, all of them are complicit, including Barack fucking Obama, because he made the phone call after Bernie Sanders won Iowa. Bernie Sanders won Nevada. He won New Hampshire. I know everybody's going to say, well, he didn't technically win Iowa. He tied with Pete Buttigieg. Whatever. He won New Hampshire, he won Nevada, and he tied for first in Iowa. He was a 3-for-3 guy. The next one was South Carolina. And I hate to rehash this because it makes my blood fucking boil. But this is what happened. After South Carolina was the next one, and who jumped up and spoke for Joe Biden? His old buddy Jim Clyburn. Jim Clyburn, who was in front of the very conservative Congressional Black Caucus. I don't know if he leads it or he's just on it, but Jim Clyburn said that Joe's your man. So South Carolina voted, and it voted for Joe Biden. And after that, the next big race that was coming up was the Super Tuesday race. And that weekend, Barack Obama called Pete Buttigieg, told him to drop out. Called Amy Klobuchar, told him to drop out. Called Beto O'Rourke, told them to drop out. So at one point, it was Bernie and Elizabeth Warren on the progressive side, the nominal progressive side. I'm not going to sit here and bash Elizabeth Warren for what she did, but whatever. Although I did recently see her in an interview a couple of weeks ago. You know, some YouTube podcaster was asking her about the when did you know and, you know, did you know and when did you know it about Joe Biden? And she's like, I never really saw it. I didn't know. And he looks at her and he goes, are you saying that Joe Biden was sharp? She goes, yeah, he was very sharp every time I talked to him. He's like, was he as sharp as you? And she goes, well, yeah. I mean, the chuckle and all. She couldn't hold back the chuckle, you know, so, but nominally at that point, it was Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren on the left, and on the right was 10 other centristy libs, including Joe Biden. And after that, you know, after that South Carolina primary, and all of the phone calls that Barack Obama made, then all of a sudden, it's one centrist Dem on the right, and now it's Bernie and Elizabeth Warren on the left to split the left's vote. The media was complicit. Jim Clyburn was complicit, and Jake Tapper, who wrote this book called Original Sin, which is pointing out the whole who knew that Joe Biden didn't have his faculties, and when did you know it? And of course, Jake Tapper asked him, and he's like, well, I mean, I didn't see anything about Biden. I mean, every time I talked to him, he was really sharp. Man, that guy was as sharp as a fucking bowling ball. And you know it. We all knew it. Now, whether or not Joe Biden's presidency had some good points and bad points, I'm not talking about that right now. What I am talking about is the fact that Joe Biden did not leave office willingly. It took the debate from fucking hell that we all were like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this guy is gone. And yet it still took another month for him to step down, even after that. I mean, my God. So when did they know? They all knew. Joe Biden didn't have his faculties in the first place. Yeah, he did a couple of good things. I will give him credit for getting out of Afghanistan. I'll give him credit for, marching, I shouldn't say march, standing with the unions. I'll give him credit for the Build Back Better, not really big Build Back Better bill that Bernie Sanders wrote, by the way, that ended up being the Inflation Reduction Act. There were a few good provisions in that. He did the Chips and Sciences Act. That's a good thing, which, by the way, Donald Trump has now thrown out. That whole infrastructure thing about, building industry in this nation, that is literally building industry in this nation, and Donald Trump just wiped his ass with it. So, a lot of good that fucking did. But Joe Biden did a handful of good things, but, and I'm not saying I don't feel bad for him having stage 4 prostate cancer, but the fact that Israel just bombed the cancer center and Joe Biden was full force all the way from October 8th all the way to the end of his presidency, we will stand with Israel and we'll give them whatever fucking weapon that they want. So Jake Tapper, who is trying to sell his goddamn book, is asking Jim Clyburn, when did he know? We all knew. We all fucking knew. Got poor David Hogg, the survivor of the Parkland school shooting, who is now vice chair at large at the DNC, who is now being pushed out because he made the cardinal sin of saying, we need to run some new blood against these old, tired, weak-ass Congress people that we have in the Democratic Party, like Jim Clyburn, who is in his mid-80s. When David Hogg mentioned this, and then Jim Clyburn, the quote, I believe, is, this has been my whole life. What am I supposed to do? I don't know. Go on vacation. Go fishing. Spend some time with your fucking grandkids. You've only got a few years left. Look, I am not saying that people should not work until they, as long as they want to. But we're not talking about, hey, I want to be a plumber until I can't be a plumber anymore. I want to be an auto mechanic until my back gives out. I want to be a farmer until, I can pass it on to my grandkids or whatever. We're talking about people that run our government that affect all of us. Joe Biden right now is no longer president. So whatever he does in his daily life, I don't really care because he's not affecting us personally. But when he was president, I can make all the critiques I want because he's in charge of this country. Jim Clyburn is a representative, a federal representative of this country. It is his responsibility. It's the news media's responsibility to actually report on it, as opposed to being Joe and Mika Brzezinski on fucking Morning Joe on MSNBC going, Joe Biden is as sharp as a tack, man. He's, and then Jill fucking Biden, when she took him on The View a couple of days ago, and Joe Biden's just kind of sitting there, just kind of looking really dazed, and she's like, and I would go to bed, and Joe Biden would be up all night long on the phone. Bitch, please. Joe Biden was sundowning at fucking 5 o'clock in the evening. What are we talking about here? Stop gaslighting. Stop pissing down my leg and telling me it's raining. And this whole, original sin book by Jake Tapper is just a fucking cover your ass situation for him. All of them are doing the CYA. When I spoke to him, he was all there. No. I mean, he was running things great. No. He was absolutely fine. No, he just slipped away, all of a sudden over a week period of time, and then it was the debate, and then, nobody knew. Who knew? You all fucking knew. And we all knew. God damn it, man. Joe Biden is not the sole reason why we have Donald Trump, but he definitely helped make it happen. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.